Hey folks, welcome back and thank you for joining us. Welcome to MasterPlan Retirement Consultants Retirement Roadmap with Mark Fricks, and of course I am Evan Fricks as well. Mark, how are you today?
Doing real good. Having the time of my life.
The time of your life. Goodness gracious.
No,
it's
just,
only Tuesday.
As you know, we just love our clients. We love what we call our master plan family, right? Because our clients do become almost like family. We know so much about them. We share moments of grief as well as happiness, and so I just love meeting with them. I love meeting new people, hearing their stories. So, every week's a good week.
Yeah, I agree. As a company too, MasterPlan, as we hone our vision and get closer and closer, more closely aligned to our vision, it does feel like we're becoming closer to our clients, and that's becoming a bigger and bigger part of our firm. And it really is an amazing thing. It makes the job that much better. That's my favorite part about the job.
Well, and I think it allows us to do a better job for our clients too, because it's not a superficial understanding of what they want. It's a deep understanding of their goals and desires and things of that nature, as well as their family, their kids, their grandkids. That's why we do the events that we do, with our clients. And it's just powerful what we've been able to create here. And like you said, as we've honed our vision and where we want to be and what we want to look like, it's looking more and more like that. And thanks to you and the staff and again, our clients has made a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, today's episode, speaking of clients, we're going to go through some frequently asked questions. This is the second type episode of just questions that we hear often, whether general or more specific. That being said, if anyone listening or watching has any questions that you would like to see featured in an episode, feel free to email us at info@masterplanretire.com, and we will feature your question in a future episode.
Of course, I'm old school, so I like to call this episode "We Get Mail."
I'm just gonna let the silence
or we
linger.
get email.
Just let the silence linger a little bit longer.
Can we cut that out? No.
Our producer will decide how generous she wants to be, whether she wants to edit in crickets or a laugh track.
That may be on a laugh track for later, or in a bloopers segment.
That's right. So, frequently asked questions, part 2. First question: what is a good retirement income?
A good retirement income is enough to feed your family and pay the rent, I guess. So it's different for everybody. I mean, if you mean a dollar amount, there is no good. I mean, that's why I hate these articles and shows where they say, you need $1 million to retire. We've got people that are retired nicely on $200,000 and $300,000. We've got people that have $2 to $5 million that feel like they're in trouble. They're not, but they feel that way sometimes. So there is no perfect amount, and that's why we run the reports we run. And that's why we create what we call an income plan, which is actually a look into the future until age 95 or 100 of where your income's coming from. So, the first step in that is deciding what is a good retirement income. And what happens, as you know, Evan, is so we'll take somebody's Social Security, we'll take, if there's a spouse, we'll take their Social Security, but typically the need is somewhere up here. So we kind of zone in on that, and then we decide how we're going to fill that gap. So that's I actually have a lot of fun with that. Playing with the numbers, and let's turn this on here, and then later on we'll turn this on, and then we'll stop this one because we're done with that one or whatever. And so it's really a kind of a fun exercise for me when I'm putting those together.
Absolutely. And yeah, asset level is one thing, and people get really fixated on that. But when it comes down to income, it's completely based on need. You can have a household that might not have as much assets as another, but it really is down to how much they need monthly.
And we have folks come in and they kind of surprise me sometimes. They're like, typically people, they say like, okay, we need $5,000 a month coming in or $8,000 a month, somewhere in that range is kind of an average. And sometimes we'll have somebody come in and say, I can live on $2,000 a month. My house is paid for, and I don't travel, and I'm happy sitting at home or volunteering at church or whatever. And so it really is different for everybody, and it's just kind of what your personality is. By that age, you've kind of learned what it takes to live and what you like to do. And if it's a couple, maybe a little bit more money, but it really is a broad range. And that's why you really need to sit down with somebody that understands the questions to ask to really find out what your income needs to be.
Absolutely. Question 2, does working after full retirement age reduce Social Security benefits?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of confusion about Social Security and can you work or can you earn income? And you can, if you turn on Social Security between the age of 62 and full retirement age, which is somewhere between 66 and 67, then you are limited on what you can earn. You can earn, but you can only, I think this year it's 22,000 and a couple of $100 that you can earn. And again, the key word I keep saying is earn, because this is not about money coming out of an IRA, money, Social Security. It's about I went and got a job, part-time or whatever. So there is a penalty, and you better know what it is if you take Social Security early. Once you turn full retirement age, that birth date is unlimited. You can earn as much as you want. That year you turn full retirement age is a little bit different as well. It's like 59,000 you can earn up until your birthday. So it's a little complicated, but just know that after full retirement age, you can go back to earning your $5 million a year.
And you can certainly see a gotcha built in there. You know, someone maybe retires in their early 60s, turns on Social Security, and then maybe they're kind of bored, or they want to do something else, or hey, I've got these skills that I've worked on my
do some
entire
consulting
life.
work.
Yeah, for sure. And they go back to work for part-time, you know, earn a certain amount of money, which it adds up pretty quickly. And then all of a sudden, if they don't know this rule, once they file their taxes, they might get a little letter from the IRS saying, hey, we paid you too much.
Yeah.
You owe us some money.
Quick example. So let's say I retire, turn on Social Security at age 64. I'm earning $52,000 a year. Well, that's $30,000 too much. So I lose $15,000 of my Social Security. They're going to send you a bill if you don't tell them first, hey, Social Security, I got a job, I'm earning this. They'll lower your benefit. Otherwise, you'll get a bill for $15,000 the next year. So, yeah, what you don't know can hurt you.
Absolutely. Okay, what should I do, say, 5 years before retirement?
Put together a plan.
Easy enough. Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's really, if you've not been working with somebody that is truly a holistic retirement consultant, I'm not talking about somebody that invests some money for you, but if you're not working with somebody that understands Social Security, pensions, income planning, taxes and how to save on taxes, Medicare, long-term care planning. I could list 6 or 8 more things. Then you're not working with a retirement consultant. And so if you're 5 years away and you need to find one at that point, a fiduciary that can work with you and explore all those areas, because the one area that you skip or miss could be the one area that trips you up.
Yeah.
And I don't want somebody to have to go back to work in 10 years because that one area grabs them.
Yeah, and 5 years really is kind of the sweet spot. I mean, on average, because it gives you time to create your plan. If you need to reallocate some assets to really maximize those 5 years before retirement for whatever growth or maturity you want to happen within those accounts, so that when you're ready, let's say you need to pull income, you've got that time to mature that account so that it's ready to turn on when your need is there.
And that's I love this. You saying the sweet spot. It really is a sweet spot. But 10 years before is not bad, and 5 years after retirement is. We've had people come to us at age 75 saying, I've been retired 7 years, but I'm worried about this, that, and that. It's not ever too late, and really, it's not ever too early.
Yeah, absolutely. How will I pay for medical expenses in retirement?
You better have some assets. Okay, so there's several different angles on this. Number one is, as we've talked about before, studies show that for a couple from age 65 until they pass away, they're going to spend out of pocket around $250,000 to $300,000 on medical stuff. This includes Medicare Part B premiums, which right now is $175 per person. There's $350 a month right there. That's $4,000 a year, okay, times 30 years, okay, start doing the math here. But also deductibles, a cost of a supplement, if you had a Medigap or a Medicare supplement, co-pays, all of that adds up. And so it's going to come either from your income in retirement, which reduces what you have to spend on other things, or again, assets you've built up, which is why you still need some growth going on.
That's right.
In addition to some income sources. So, and that's part of what we do plan for. We add that into that need. None of that includes long-term care needs. That's a separate issue, and we attack that in many different ways as opposed to just coming out of pocket in most cases. As you know, there's some tools out there. We're not advocates of long-term care insurance. I'm not saying we would never use it, but it's typically a last resort. There are tools out there where you can have a guaranteed income, and if you have a long-term care need, it can double or even triple your income. And the cost of that is either 0 or maybe 1% fee on that account. There are other tools that act like Roth accounts that can have a rider that can pay for long-term care, that you don't even pay for the rider unless you utilize it, and then it comes down to payment every month. So, and one of the reports we run, as you know, is about what effect would a long-term care need have on your retirement and on your spouse that you may be leaving behind. And so you need to address that. And again, I'm not saying run out and buy insurance. Our job is to grow and save money, not spend money. And long-term care insurance is very expensive now. But certainly it's something that I would sit down with a professional and talk to. Make sure they're a fiduciary. Again, you don't want to be sold something. You want a plan.
Yeah, and that's good. We've certainly seen people benefit from long-term care insurance. If it is the right fit for you and you have that need, it can be a lifesaver. The reason that's not our go-to when we're first approaching the issue is it's getting more expensive, it's getting harder to find. More and more companies are buying people out, and the last thing we want is for you to pay into it for 20 years and then it just get too expensive, because it can go up every year. And so what happens when you're 75, you've been paying in for 20 years and you can't afford it anymore.
And you drop it.
And then you drop it. So not only do you no longer have that insurance, but you've paid 20 years worth of premiums with nothing to show for it. We want to avoid that if at all possible.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, here's a fun one. Should I take a lump sum pension offer?
Yeah, so this is a question that the first answer is it depends. Mm-hmm. Okay,
you pretty much answer every question that way, correct?
Yeah, that's true. The disclaimer for today's show is
it depends.
This all depends, by the way. So lump sum pensions, so if you have a pension that's available from a company or a government entity you work for, sometimes they'll offer, hey, instead of taking a monthly payment of $1,000, we'll give you $100,000, okay? And so you can roll that into your own IRA. There are benefits to doing that. The benefits, number one, is the money belongs to you, whereas if you turn on the pension, the next check belongs to you. You pass away, they stop, unless you buy a survivor, which reduces your pension. So there's less flexibility there. So what we do is we run the numbers. When do we want to start taking the pension, and how much is it going to be? And by the way, we can actually add a survivor so that the spouse keeps getting the pension for no cost. So it doesn't reduce the pension. So again, it depends, but I've seen probably 9 out of 10 times it is better to take control of that lump sum and be able to do what you need it to do versus I'm going to get a check that may or may not keep up with inflation, may not even be going up in the future. Whereas, again, outside what we call a personal pension plan, we can design it so it actually goes up every year or two. So lots of different ways, and one place to take a look certainly is our website. I mean, we have some great resources on some of these topics. We have some great checklists where you can go through and say, these are the things I've got to take care of if I'm 5 years away or if I'm a federal worker, things of that nature. So make sure you visit the website, masterplanretire.com. Lots of resources. There's an events page with classes coming up, both virtually as well as face-to-face. All of our podcast and YouTube videos can be linked from there. And then finally, the most important part of the website is a little green button. It says schedule a meeting. You push that button and you get to sit down with one of us to discuss your situation, your dreams, your goals, your concerns, your worries. Am I going to be able to make it? We'll be able to run some reports for you. This is all complimentary to see where you're at and how to get you where you want to be. So make sure you visit masterplanretire.com, or if you're old-fashioned like me and talk about mail, snail mail, right? Call us at 770-980-9262, and you can actually talk to somebody and we can get you on the calendar or just answer some questions for you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yep.
Next question, should I roll my 401k to an IRA?
I would say, again, this all depends, okay? There are a few times when you may not want to, especially if you're under 59 and a half, because 401ks typically are liquid earlier than 59 and a half. Thrift savings plans definitely are, so we might want to leave some in that account. But the problem with the 401ks, a couple of things. Number one is they are among the more expensive accounts to have. Government studies have shown that they are much more expensive than you think they are. You'll look at your statement. It says, "Oh, there's a $25 fee every month." Well, if you dig in, you find out there's some internal fees as well as the funds have fees built in. Every fund has a fee between about 0.5% up to 2%. We don't use those kind of funds, okay? So there's a lot of accounts you can get less expensive, but also you can't really manage a 401k very well. Even if you try to manage it yourself, you're limited to how many trades you can do a month. Our accounts, we have active trading. So we could do 2 trades a month, we could do 10 trades a month, trying to stay ahead of the market. And so it's better managed outside of a 401k. The fees are less. So that's 2 pretty good reasons. Again, that's not a blanket statement, but we'll take a look and show you the pros and the cons of rolling it over, and then you'll have the information you need to make the right decision.
Yeah, and I would also add on to that from a retirement planning standpoint. Make sure you know your 401k plan or your employer-sponsored plan. I'm working with a client right now. We were placing a rollover call to diversify her 401k, roll it out to a series of IRAs with different jobs for her retirement planning. And the first call we made, the representative on the other line from this large company basically said this was an almost $400,000 IRA and only about 16,000 of it was rollable since she was still employed. She's past 59 and a half. There was no issues there. And so that kind of left us a little stumped because we were really planning on using the years before she retired to mature some of these accounts, as I mentioned earlier. So we kind of went back to the drawing board.
Well, we both our jaws kind of dropped. We'd never seen that before.
Not that low of amount.
We've seen maybe you could you could roll over 75% or 50%, but not, what'd you figure it was, about 5%? Was something like that was rollable.
Yeah.
So yeah, our jaws dropped first, and we both began scrambling because we're like, okay, what do we do? Because she won't be able to roll this over until she retires, which is going to be in her 70s.
When she's going to need the money to be producing income.
And we couldn't really make it much more efficient.
Right.
So you were going to say something, I think, on the back of that.
Well, we called an audible. We made some preliminary planning on, okay, how can we adjust? How can we maximize savings in as many places as we can now, since we don't have access to that yet. But her job was to go and talk to her HR representative and her plan sponsor her work. And she found out that actually the company, the representative that we spoke to, was incorrect. And so we placed another call.
Way incorrect.
Way incorrect. So, and that was a huge relief.
For her first.
For her and for us, because, as Mark said, we are able to make her retirement so much more efficient. She's so much more prepared for when she's ready to pull the trigger and enter that new phase of her life.
Walk right into retirement with everything set up. 5 years for these accounts, new accounts to mature and get more robust. And I think 99% was rollable, if I remember correctly.
Very close, yeah. So make sure you know your plan. Every one of them's got a little bit of different rules here and there. So the more that you know, the better, especially when you consider most people's 401ks or 403bs or whatever is their largest asset other than maybe their home. But as far as investable assets used for retirement, you'd think you'd like to know the most you can about that, but most of us just don't, and it's not the fault of the client. It's we're just not taught.
Well, I was going to say, also be careful about rolling old 401ks into a new 401k.
Yes.
If you've left a job and it's got a 401k there, again, you have much more control if you roll it to a personal IRA or Roth. So it can be, again, more actively managed, a less expensive management. So many people just rolled it into the new 401k and they've just captured it into something that they can't really manage again, and it's more expensive. So be careful with that. Again, seek fiduciary help to make sure that you make the right decision on that.
Okay, this one is kind of like a step 2 from that last topic about rolling your 401k to an IRA. How should I spend my retirement savings?
Depends. How much do you want to leave to your kids? Is that the question?
How well do you like your heirs?
So what do you mean? How should you spend it?
I would think my initial response is the approach of, okay, how do you maximize the efficiency of withdrawals? Because if we're saying from our retirement accounts, we're talking IRAs, Roths, 401ks, those kind of things. How do you know where to take? what order, what taxable account, tax-free, do you save? Do you go ahead and do tax-free now? Do you save that for the future? How does that all work with what's coming in the door through Social Security or potential pensions? How do you balance that?
That's a whole show.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean, that's a big part of the planning we do, is because it's no longer really technically about assets. It's about income. So it's utilizing those assets to create the income you need plus some backup. And so part of that plan is, I mean, just give you an example right now, we tend to delay Social Security sort of be larger, right? And fill the gap until then with IRA money, because taxes are on sale right now, believe it or not. Since the Reagan years, taxes have been at a historically low point. That's changing in a couple of years most likely, and definitely in the next 5 or 10 years with the debt we have and the programs we have in trouble. So why not spend the IRAs down some, maybe convert some money to a Roth, use that money to live on, and then what you have left later on is a bigger Social Security payment. And hopefully, if you're working with us, you have some tax-free money that's grown that you can turn on when taxes are higher.
Yeah.
That's just a segment of what you've asked, by the way,
right?
right? That's a very small part. So, you know, but we definitely want to use tools that give us a guaranteed income stream on top of Social Security, almost like another Social Security payment or a pension payment, because the market does two things very well. Mm-hmm. It goes up and it goes down. Mm-hmm. And so we don't like that to be a major income source. So that's got to be taken into consideration as well. So a lot of moving parts there, and there's a lot more we could talk about. But that's really one of the reports we'll run for you. Complementary is kind of how your income will last. Your assets will last with the income you think you need, and how can we maximize that so that your assets last a lifetime.
And if you're on the younger side too, and you've still got a longer time horizon until your retirement, use the opportunity now to not only get a match if it's offered with your 401k or whatever, but try as best you can to max out those Roths, those tax-free buckets. Yeah, you might not get a deduction this year, but I promise you, 30 years down the road, 20, however many till your retirement, the more tax-free income you can have, the better. Because guess what? Social Security is taxed based on how much income you're taking, how many withdrawals, things like that. A lot of things are affected by how much income taxes is being created by those withdrawals. The more tax-free money you can create for yourself in retirement, the less you will be reliant or at the mercy of the IRS.
Yeah, and even, I've not thought about this before, but even your Part B Medicare premiums, which is based on taxable income, your Medicare premium payments may be less because you have, again, less taxable income. That's if right. You're using tax-free income, and you're taking the power of the IRS out of their hands and taking that on, because no matter what rates go to, if you've got tax-free income, you're not paying anything. I don't care if the rate's 90%.
Doesn't matter what the math around it is, zero is still zero.
Zero is your hero.
That's right. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. We're going to have to do another one of these because we have a handful of questions left. If you have any questions or want to speak to a retirement consultant on your own retirement, remember MasterPlanRetire.com. That'll take you directly to our calendar. You can find a time that works best for you, or give us a call, 770-980-9262. Mark, any final words? Yeah,
visit the website, bookmark it, MasterPlanRetire.com, or do a search on MasterPlan Retirement Consultants in the Marietta area. We are in 23 states, but our home office is in Marietta, just outside of Atlanta. But make sure you visit the website, schedule a meeting. Until we do see you, though, I want you to remember to plan well and prosper. Take care, everybody. This was Retirement Roadmap Radio with Mark Fricks of MasterPlan Retirement Consultants. To schedule a complimentary consultation, go to MasterPlanRetire.com or call 770-980-9262. Thanks for listening, and remember, plan well and prosper.
All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Advisory services offered through MasterPlan Retirement Consultants, a registered investment advisor in the state of Georgia. Mark Fricks and MasterPlan Retirement Consultants are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.